This is Channel 7 Eyewitness News with Bill Butel, Scott Clark with sports, Sam Champion with the exclusive AccuWeather forecast, and the Eyewitness News team. Now, Eyewitness News.
Good evening, I'm Bill Butel. She told her story this afternoon in a courtroom in Florida. The woman who accuses William Kennedy Smith of raping her at the Kennedy Mansion in Palm Beach over the Easter weekend. She identified Smith as the rapist, and in graphic and very specific words, punctuated by tears, she described what she says was rape. Sarah Wallace is live now in West Palm Beach. Sarah?
Well, Bill, William Kennedy Smith's accuser says she had no reason to think that he would become violent and vicious when she gave him a ride home from a bar last Easter weekend. But in dramatic and tearful testimony this afternoon, the 30-year-old woman described how Smith allegedly turned on her when she left him after a walk on the beach.
I lost my momentum, or my balance, and started to go down, and I just, my left foot still had power, or like the power or momentum in it, because it was on the top of the steps, and I pushed off with that and started to run.
Smith looked intently at his accuser as she tearfully described how he tackled her.
He had me on the ground, and I was trying to get out from underneath of him because he was crushing me, and he had my arm, and I was yelling, "No!" and "Stop!" And I tried to arch my back to get him off of me, and he slammed me back into the ground, and I got, and then he pushed my dress up, and he raped me. And I thought he was going to kill me.
The woman claims she went inside the mansion on the Kennedy compound and called a friend to come get her. She says she was again confronted by Smith, who this time threatened her with words.
He said, "I didn't rape you," and I said that I called my friends and that we were going to call the police. And he said, "Well, you shouldn't have done that. Nobody's going to believe you."
How did you feel when he told you that no one would believe you?
I got extremely frightened again. I didn't know how he was going to make that one happen. I thought he was going to kill me when he said that.
The accuser has just left the stand. Cross-examination did begin just before airtime, and that will continue tomorrow morning. The position, of course, of the defense is that the sex was voluntary and that the woman made up the rape charge because she was afraid of getting pregnant. Live from West Palm Beach, Florida, Sarah Wallace, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Sarah. In our other major story tonight, Terry Anderson. Terry Anderson, the last American held hostage in Lebanon, is finally free. Right now, Anderson is in Damascus, Syria, ready to fly to Germany for a medical examination and for reunion with friends and family. Less than 2 hours ago, Anderson appeared looking surprisingly healthy and, of course, obviously happy.
Oh, you can't imagine how glad I am to see you. I've thought about this moment for a long time. And now it's here. And I'm scared to death.
Many of the other hostages who have been freed already say Anderson was the glue that held them together. Tonight, Anderson gave thanks to the many people who kept his spirits high during his captivity.
Thousands and thousands of people whom I don't know, never met, don't know me, whom I know have been working and praying for us all, for all the hostages. Your support, your prayers were important. They made a big difference. They made a difference to us in some very dark times.
Here in New York, Anderson's friends and colleagues at the Associated Press broke out the champagne. That celebration has been held on hold for almost 7 years, but it doesn't compare to the emotions rocking Terry Anderson's cousin at their home in Valley Stream on Long Island, and N.J. Burkett is there live. N.J.?
Bill, you might say the Anderson family spent almost 7 years waiting by the telephone for a very important series of phone calls. But even today, Bill, when those calls came in, They just refuse to believe them, insisting on seeing it for themselves on television. Terry Anderson's Long Island cousins watched their long ordeal come to an end today, and we watched it with them. If seeing is believing, then the Andersons of Valley Stream became believers this afternoon. They held hands, wiped their eyes, and sat captivated in their Long Island living room as their cousins smiled at reporters in a news conference half a world away.
Everybody asked the questions for the last year or so, how's it going to feel when he gets home? How am I supposed to know how it feels? It's going to feel when he gets home. Now we know how it feels. It's pure joy. To see the smile on his face and to see him react in the way that he is, it feels absolutely fantastic. I don't think I've ever seen anybody that happy before. That's great. Except maybe me.
After a day of harrowing ups and downs, for Tom Anderson, his wife, and his 3 teenage children, the end of their nearly 7-year ordeal came at 4 p.m. And the ending was better than any of them could have imagined.
He looks absolutely great. That smile says it all.
Is there any bitterness?
NJ, we don't have time for bitterness right now. It's too sweet. And that's the honest-to-God truth. Right now, how can you look at that face and think anything but happiness? Look at how happy he is. Here's the Terry and his freedom. A man who is an inspiration, a role model, and free.
And free, amen.
Amen.
Quite an ending tonight. The Andersons say they will not travel to Wiesbaden. They say they will go to Andrews Air Force Base in the nation's capital. When Terry arrives home and precisely when he gets back, they say, is up to Terry. We're live tonight with the Anderson family, Valley Stream, Long Island. NJ Burkett, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Thank you, NJ. Good news about Terry Anderson, of course, but there's disturbing news tonight about Alan Steen, the American hostage who was freed only yesterday. Doctors in Wiesbaden report that Steen suffers from blackouts and seizures as a result of a kick to the head during his captivity, and it is believed that he has suffered permanent brain damage. A bit closer to home, the big concern for bus and subway riders is the fare increase that is coming in the new year. Transit officials say they have found a way to hold the increase to 15 cents rather than a quarter. The TA wants to shift $90 million from the commuter railroads to the operating budget. And that means the fare would go to $1.30 instead of $1.40 if that is what happens. You may recall we told you about how easy access meant easy money for people using locksmiths who do not check identification. Now the New York City Council is taking action to protect consumers in this area. We showed you these pictures of locksmiths unlocking doors without asking for proper ID. Today the Consumer Affairs Committee passed a bill that requires locksmiths to make sure that people are authorized to enter the locked property. The bill comes up for a vote before the full City Council on December 19th. Potemkin is one of the biggest and most important automobile dealers in the country, headquartered in New York City. And we first told you about charges that Potemkin has taken some of its customers for a ride, cheated them, sold them used cars when they paid for new cars. The New York State Attorney General is taking action against Potemkin, and Tim Minton is here now with his story. Tim?
Bill, the Attorney General threw the book at Potemkin, actually a couple of books, and here they are. Court papers with evidence of alleged fraud and misrepresentation. All told, more than 100 customers who say Potemkin took them for a rip-off ride. Marina and Alexander Freiberg want the new car they bought, not this used one they say was secretly substituted. David Rosenberg bought his car somewhere else after Potemkin allegedly wouldn't honor an advertised price. 2 rip-off stories out of dozens in a case the accused says is no big deal.
There are a minuscule number of complaints. We think it's like 1/25th of 1% of the transactions engaged in by this business over the period of time in question.
One person should never be defrauded. One person should never be taken advantage of. We're asserting that over the last couple of years, we know of 115 complaints. That's only the tip of the iceberg. Those are only the people who have come to the Attorney General's office.
The Freibergs went to the Attorney General after paying what Chrysler's U.S. headquarters confirms was full new car sticker price for a 1989 Dodge Dynasty.
I think it's fraud. Give it to us a used car. We sign the contract for a new car. We pay for a new car when we have a used car. That means it's fraud.
A sales order signed by both Marina Freiberg and Potemkin clearly says new motor vehicle. So the Freibergs say they ignored a lack of new car smell and 60 miles already showing on the odometer. But when the car's title arrived, it said used, and they got angry.
If Potemkin says they talked to you about a used car, what would you say to that?
They are lying.
When the Freibergs asked Potemkin for an explanation, they got a copy of an order for a used car purportedly signed by Marina Freiberg for the same Dodge Dynasty. The order form's number was crossed out and replaced with a handwritten number, 53471, which happens to be the number on the Freibergs' new car contract.
I don't know Ms. Freiberg's problem. I'm sure that if she had a problem, it's been resolved.
Well, she says no, and she says that Potemkin's lied to her.
Well, then that's Ms. Freiberg. I don't know her. I don't know her background or what problems she may have or what her perceptions may be. I can say that Freiberg does not a case make.
But our allegations go well beyond that. This is a dealership that has had problems over many years.
Which Manhattan lawyer David Rosenberg says he knows firsthand. He saw this ad 2 years ago for a Mitsubishi Montero.
They told us if it says $14,492 in the ad, if you come in, you can get it for $14,492. And we came in, and they said no.
Tonight, the Attorney General charges not only the dealership, but also owner Victor Potemkin himself and other top executives with fraud. It's a civil case, not criminal. So if they're found guilty, they could be ordered to pay refunds and substantial fines. Bill.
Tim, thank you very much. We continue with Eyewitness News in just a moment. The Daily News may be on the brink once again. Some new information about the late Robert Maxwell's financial empire may spell some very bad news for the news, for one of New York's last newspapers. Sir Robert Maxwell, in a moment. Sir Robert Maxwell came to town earlier this year to save the New York Daily News. Last month, Sir Robert died when he was pushed, when he jumped, or when he fell from his yacht near the Canary Islands. Tonight, the Daily News may be on the brink of dying again because the Maxwell fortune may turn out to be a house of cards. Doug Johnson has the story.
The world business community continues to be rocked by the revelations of the problems in the Maxwell financial empire, and the waves are being felt at the Daily News. Although the paper is owned by the Maxwell family directly, there is little consolation in that. The Maxwell empire is made up of two public companies, one private. It appears the private company took loans from the public companies without telling the banks, and also took pension funds from the public companies to shore up the private firm. What does that mean for the pension funds at the Daily News?
As far as the pension funds for the New York Daily News are concerned, they are under the trusteeship of the Bank of New York, and they are intact.
When Robert Maxwell took over the Daily News, he said he would make it successful and keep it running. His son, Kevin, said the same thing after his father's death. But now the family needs money, want to sell the